I chased eternity and lost the living day. I held a nation still, but watched my heart decay. I saw my sister fade in war, and nothing felt like home anymore. So I built a realm where time stood still, and chained my grief to iron will. I sealed the storm around my land, with thunder resting in my hand. If nothing changed, then none would die. That was the gentle, foolish lie. But silence is not peace, and stillness is not grace. A God can guard a nation and still abandon every face. I was the shadow of thunder, the sword behind the throne. I called my prison eternity and ruled my grief alone. But hearts are not statues, and love cannot be stone. I had to lose the world I made to find my way back home. I made a child from lightning's art, a fragile soul, an empty heart. He looked at me with newborn eyes, too soft for what I feared inside. I thought release would spare his pain. I left him sleeping in the rain. But gods who flee from what they make leave broken lives in their wake. I named him failure in my fear, then wondered why he disappeared. A mother who rejects her son will meet her sin when years are done. I was the shadow of thunder, the sword behind the throne. I called my prison eternity and ruled my grief alone. But hearts are not statues, and love cannot be stone. I had to face the child I left to bring my son back home. He stood before me full of hate, a puppet armed against his fate. He cursed my name, he raised his hand, and asked me why I let him stand. I struck him down, but not to kill, for in his rage I heard him still. Not as a traitor, not a tool, but as my child, afraid and cruel. He said, destroy me if you dare. I was the burden you would not bear. But when his tears broke through his pride, the storm inside me finally cried. I lowered still, I reached instead. I held the son I once left dead. And in that broken, trembling breath, I chose a love stronger than death. I was the shadow of thunder, the sword behind the throne. But I was not eternal when I stood there alone. A nation needs tomorrow, a child needs more than might. So I gave my son a heart again and walked back into light. I learned the weight of open doors, of hearing people I'd ignored, of papers, prayers, and mortal needs, of harvest fields and humble pleas. My son sat by me, learning slow how fear must turn to trust and grow. A prince of storms, no longer chained, a future born from old mistakes. The shrine bells rang, the fox still smiled, and I became step after mile. Not only God, not only blade, but one who mends the wounds she made. Then war rose cold from Snezhnaya, and banners crossed the burning sky. The world called all its gods to stand against the crown of frozen land. I took my son beside my blade, no longer shame, no longer shame. The shogun marched, the thunder cried, and Inazuma stood with pride. I am the thunder that learned to listen, the storm that learned to grieve, the God who broke her own illusion so her people could be free. No more stillness without living, no more love I leave unknown. I lost myself inside eternity, then found my way back home. Makoto, can you see me now? I am not what I was then. My son is walking at my side, and I have chosen life again. Let thunder guard the morning, let cherry blossoms fall. Eternity was never silence, it was love surviving all.